Oh my God. Okay.
We need the black shirt.
You have the black shirt.
Yeah,
so quickly.
Okay. Wait, can you do me a favor? Can you state your name, sir?
Why?
Just state your name.
But why?
Because you're part of this program and it's a program and there's special people that need to be in a special program. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Michael Mafucci. I'm the co-founder of the High Rise team here at Compass.
Nice. Good looking kid. You really are.
Are you being sarcastic?
No.
Well, thank you.
You are a good looking kid. Hey, it's Paul Zweben of the Zweben team of Compass, and today you're going to learn about the things that really go on behind the scenes. A day in the life of Paul Zweben. The day was amazing. We met at 110 Fifth Avenue, and it was like such an amazing day that we had together. Basically, we did a coaching call with my coach in our car as we drove, which was pretty cool. So, what? What's that?
You gonna do your coaching call in the car?
Yes, yes.
While driving?
Yeah, but I'm looking for a parking space. It's fine.
Okay.
We met a potential teammate that we were hoping to get onto our team. We talked to a bunch of different agents and had some fun things between some funny guys and some serious guys. We talked to my manager, Doug Headings. He told us a little bit about why he wanted us to come to Compass, my wife and I and the team.
Why did I want to bring Paul and Carol into to Compass? I have no idea, actually.
And also Vince Stone, who was actually our recruiter, and what was his sort of key point where he was like, the Zwebens need to be here.
The first conversation I had with Paul, the first thing he said to me was, every day I wake up hungry, ready to win and to learn and to share knowledge.
We then came uptown to the building that we live on, which is on Riverside between 91st and 92nd. We took a look at the beautiful roof deck, and then we went into a unit that is now in contract in apartment 4B, and that's super exciting. Then I changed into a different suit and we made onion soup. And then this is where we are. So we're gonna make a really simple onion soup. Got a lot of red wine, and one of the most important things that you're doing while you cook onions or any other vegetable that you want caramelized is once I slice the onions, the shallots, and the garlic and throw them in here, the pan is gonna have to be super hot, because if it gets cold and the oil's not hot enough at the beginning, it's not going to get caramelized or caramelized. It's going to just be like opaque, and that's not good. So I'm going to take my jacket off and then we're going to go from there. And the goal is not to get anything on my suit. So I took a home ec class in 1977. I was in 7th grade, and I picked photography and being a chef. And I remember the average salary for an executive chef was $65,000, and I was like, oh my God, that's like a millionaire. And I loved cooking in home ec, and I decided to pursue it. I went to the Culinary Institute of America from 1982 to 1984. Then my parents sat me down and said, we don't have a lot of money, you need to go to school for business. So I went to Florida International University in Miami for the final 2 years of my bachelor's degree, worked at the Breakers Hotel, the Grand Bay Hotel, which is no longer there, and then it was like time to come to New York. So I say to people all the time when they get like chef aprons and chef jackets and they put them on, they're like, hey, I'm a chef, and the answer is, it takes 5 minutes to be a chef. It takes years and years and years of practice and learning to be a chef. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the fire on right now. I'm gonna get this oil really hot, and I'm gonna chop some shallots. It's just a classic French onion soup with, with my interpretation. So I came to New Jersey, and somehow I met a headhunter, and he sold me on working in a restaurant in Morristown, and he was like, it's a New York City restaurant in Morristown. He played me. So about a year into it, I became the executive sous chef. There was a professor that had given me a card to speak to somebody. So that someone, his name was Mark Sarazin. Mark Sarazin placed 99% of all guys and gals looking to get into the restaurant business in New York City. So far, nothing is on my shirt. So far, so good. So one of the keys when you're doing the vegetables is not to stir it for like 5 minutes or so. Because if you stir it, it cools down the pan, because the vegetables are basically cold. You hear that sizzle? You see that in here? That's what you want, okay? So I set up a meeting with him, and I walk into this big like oak paneled wooded office with Rolodexes that were like this big. He knew everyone. And he comes in and he says, so tell me what chefs you worked for. Well, I worked at this guy, and he's like, you've never worked with any chef that has any talent. So I'm gonna get you a job, possibly at the River Cafe. I don't know if it'll work. I left that interview, that man changed my life. Because here I am, cocky, I was executive chef, I worked at the Breakers, and he was like, I don't care what you did, you've never worked in a real kitchen. And he was right. So again, the key is not to touch the pot or the onions or the shallots or the garlic. Just let nature do its thing. Once the onions are done, the onions and the garlic and the shallots are done, I'm going to hit it with a bottle of Vampire Pinot Noir. I'll reduce that down by about a half. And then last night, when I got home from Charleston, South Carolina, I made a roast chicken stock. This is the stock. So the stock was only made with bones and not with any flesh, meaning like the breast meat or anything. So that's a stock. If I made it with the whole bird, meaning the bones and the flesh and the meat, that would be a broth. That's the difference between a stock and a broth. Watched pot never boils. So I drove over to the River Cafe. David Burke, who's been around for many, many years, like 30 years, he interviews me in his office to be a cook. And I was like, a cook? But I was a sous chef. And he's like, you're a cook, dude. I worked there for 3 years. And I remember distinctly saying to David, it's time. And he said, it is. So you see how it's starting to get color down there? That's what we want. But again, I'm not touching it. Typically, I'm not going to season the soup with salt and pepper until the end. Because if I do it when it's reducing, that salt, whatever I put in it, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger because the liquid is being reduced. So right now, the onions are beginning to be opaque. And what we want is for them to get a little bit of color before we hit it with the red wine. You want there to be color, like a nice rich brown color. And again, I could make the onion soup and not caramelize the vegetables. I could just do it, and when they get opaque, I could hit them with the red wine. The more color you get on the onions and the garlic and the shallots, the more like deep flavor you're gonna have for the onion soup. So in cooking, there's never enough wine. I have a bottle of Pinot Noir, and we're gonna hit the entire onion. Now, one of the reasons we're gonna reduce it is we also wanna cook the alcohol out of the soup. Because if you just pour it in and start serving it, you're gonna taste that rawness of the alcohol, and we don't want that. We just want the flavor of the Pinot Noir. So I got a job at Chelsea Central, and I got 2 stars from Brian Miller. Larry McIntyre really helped me. I was there for 2 years. And then these young guys reached out to me, and they were like, look, we're opening this big American family style restaurant. Think Carmine's Italian, but American. And they hired me as the executive chef there, but I was like, I want to be a partner. They're like, show us. And then basically I muscled my way in, and then subsequently we opened Calle Ocho, Rain East, Rain West, Django, Union Pacific with Rocco Despirito, BLT Prime with Laurent Tourandel, BLT Steak with Laurent Tourandel, Bar Bao, and Main Street was our first. So we did 9 restaurants, and then I hit the wall. So on January 31st of 1992, I'm now dating myself, Brian Miller of the New York Times wrote a 2-star review. Now, if you ever read his reviews, you would read them, you felt like you were in the restaurant. You felt like you were eating the food. He was, I think, the best food writer ever at the New York Times. It was at Chelsea Central. Larry McIntyre was the owner. It was on 10th Avenue and 23rd Street. Back then, and many, many different chefs went through that kitchen. Donnie Pintabona, Tom Valente, Rick Moonen, me, Kevin Hager, tons of chefs went through there and then moved on to bigger and better things. The New York Times star system was 1 to 4 stars. 4 stars was like, and still is, like Danielle, the Bernardin, a couple others. A 1-star review, if you're a chef, you're not too happy about it. A 2-star review is extremely respectable. A 3-star review is like the River Cafe. 2 stars is very solid. I was very happy. I remember going to meet my former manager, Jeff Rothstein, who was our manager at Douglas Elliman. And he met me at this like dirty down diner on the Upper West Side. He ordered a baked potato with butter, salt, and pepper. And he starts eating it. And I said, I want to be a real estate agent. And he's kept eating his potatoes like, of course, you're gonna be amazing. And I was like, so you'll hire me? He's like, absolutely. So people for years, even to this day, say, how did you handle the transition? And it was really simple. Food goes bad, real estate goes bad. If you're not on time at either either of them, you're fired. If you're not knowledgeable with either of them, you're fired. And if you don't give customer service and you don't anticipate the needs of your guests or your customers, you're fired. They're the same business. So we are at 194 Riverside Drive between 91st and 92nd Street on the Upper West Side. It's a very, very special building to me. 7 floors, 39 units. It was built in 1902 by Ralph Townsend, who basically lived on a boat out on the Hudson River. He built 194 and 190, which is right next door, which is a really cool thing. About 18 years ago, we had opened our 9th or 10th restaurant, and it was in Washington, D.C., and it was called BLT State. And I was working there 6 days a week and then flying home on Sundays, every Sunday, and I would see my wife for like 3 or 4 hours, and literally at like 7 o'clock at night, I would fall asleep. And then on Monday, I'd have to take another plane or the quiet car, the Amtrak, back to D.C. Before the building was co-op, around 1984 and prior to that, for about 10 years, the landlord only rented to actors. He rented to Kevin Bacon, Michael J. Fox, one of the Supermen. There were a bunch of different theater reviewers that lived here. Very cool. And then when it went co-op, the landscape started to change. So that's the building, and we're gonna go take a look at Unit 4B in just a moment. My wife had been a real estate agent for about 6 years, and it was just a click in my head. We were thinking about having children. I knew if I stayed in the restaurant business, it would be not a good thing for me to spend time with and watch their activities and stuff as they grew up. And I called my wife and I was like, I've been serving food since like 1979 and I can't do this anymore. So this is apartment 4B. It's approximately 1,400 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but this is the only apartment in the entire building left over that has a shaving closet. And the shaving closet, obviously, is where people used to shave. Most people rip this out and put a washer dryer in here, which makes no sense to me, but it is what it is. It's a great unit. It's the 3rd B line that we have been placed under contract or sold in the last 14 months. And without hesitation, she basically said, you've been buying and selling real estate since you're in your 20s. You listen to every one of my deals when I'm walking around the house. Why don't you be my partner? And in my head, I was like, this is gonna be an easy job because I'm working in the hardest business ever. Little did I know that real estate is actually harder than the restaurant business. My wife and I would go to cocktail parties all the time, and we'd get in a cab, we're heading to the cocktail party, and she would make sure that she said it every time. She's like, you know nothing about real estate, nothing. Talk about your restaurants and food. And that's what I did for like the first year. I learned my craft. She was like, if you don't do any deals the first year, it's okay. I did 6 deals, which was pretty good, I thought, and that was it. But the transition was literally seamless. The guys and gals that are at the top, Robert Refkin, Gordon Golub, they all wake up every day for their agents to win, for the agents' customers. We are customers of Compass, and our customers are customers of ours. And it's an amazing feeling going into work every day. Like literally, we're brand new at Compass. We've been there for 4 months. And one word describes it, one word. And that's refreshing. Everything about it is refreshing. The culture and the technology is like unreal. Now, I'm not gonna lie and say when we were doing the transition, I was like, oh, this is gonna be super simple, because it's a, and there were a couple times during the transition that I looked at my wife, I was like, are we sure we wanna do this? Because it's very, very overwhelming. Being a real estate agent is a very lonely business. But there's times when you're doing deals that can knock you off your track. There's like a bubble around you, and you need other people to really be able to infiltrate that bubble and help you get through the ups and the downs. Because when there's downs, it's down.
Huh?
Be like a dad and like measure his torso.
I'm not touching him. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. Why? I got a nice torso.
Beer gut too.
No, I don't.
Dude, you got a gut.
No, I don't.
Can you not, please get out of my space. Please get out of my space.
Oh, I'm
encroachment.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm like a 44. 40.
I think I'm a 42. I call Mike Mafucci Goomba the day I started. Now, I've been doing this for 18 years. And I walked in, I shake his hand, and he's like, I know you're new, do you want to join my team? And I just started laughing. And I believe for some reason, the other Mike started filming it and like going in and out. And we posted it, and people were like, oh my God, you have to do this all the time. 2 different generations, we speak different languages, and it just works somehow. It's friendship within the office. I mean, I called them last night, and I was like, you guys missed me. me, don't you? And they were like, yes, terribly.
I've known you for about a month and a half.
You've known me for more than a month.
I've known you for about 2 months.
You met me on July 30th of 2024. They're funny guys. Mike Goomba is hilarious. I said you were amazing. I said I loved you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I love your girlfriend. I haven't even met her.
No, she's really highly intelligent. But you know,
Does that mean we can't have a conversation?
Yeah, no.
Or does it mean that she's just smart?
No, she's just gets along with everybody.
Oh, that's sweet.
She's not-
Sweet.
High intelligent people usually coagulate with other high.
Coagulate. Coagulate is not the right word. It doesn't matter. Like he'll just walk in the office. His team all wears black t-shirts. They wear like jeans and black t-shirts, and I'm just like, put a suit on. There was one where I saw all of them coming into my office, like all 5 of them in black t-shirts and jeans, and I'm like, what are you doing? Until I turned 42, I had a chef coat on. And I remember when I got into the business, my wife was like, you need to wear suits because we're dealing with people with a lot of money. You need like a leather briefcase. I have no idea what was in it, but was always full. And there are customers that say to me, you come in and you're like a perfect package, and I'm not a perfect package, but you're this package that has his uniform on and he's ready to go. I worship my wife. I'm scared of her. I worship her. She doesn't think I negotiate properly. We're very, very different. While she's cooking or while I'm cooking, she may be just on the side drinking a beer and talking to me about whatever and how can we make our business better. Because it's really a 24-hour-a-day business. The first day when I started working at a former firm 18 years ago, I was leaving for the office. My wife was going on some showings, and she said, I want to tell you one rule. If you're cold and need a blanket in the office, or you're hungry and need food, do not come to me because I am not your wife at the office. We're business partners. And I was like, okay. And then on the batting average of what's it like working with your wife, number 1 is married couples have a higher trust level to people than individuals and just teams. And I would say 97% of the time working with Carolyn is spectacular, and 3% I want to leave, get a studio apartment, and never come back. I don't have any regrets. I came up with Bobby Flay. I came up with all the guys that are Chopped judges. I interviewed almost all of them. I think to this day, I'm as good as any of them. I'll go on Chopped and I'll compete against them. I have no problem. I know that I have the techniques and the skill and the knowledge that I would still be able to run with them. So that the regret is, what if I stayed in the kitchens as opposed to, like when we were growing our restaurant business, I started to become the consigliere to the chefs, and I started kissing babies in the front of the house. So I started doing basically property/cooking videos. I find another agent, mostly from Compass. What do you have? Do you have anything with a spectacular kitchen? And I give them a pitch. I'm like, this is what we'll do. I'll come up, I'll knock on the door, you'll open the door, you'll give me a quick spin with a videographer, we'll take a look at the house. Oh my God, how much is it? How big is it? We'll end up in the kitchen. I pull out 2 aprons, throw one on you, throw one on me, and then we make a simple dish. And people love it. So I'm really going hard into the food part of it in real estate because look, in New York City, people talk about 4 things: food, dogs, real estate, and kids. That's it. I want to get smarter and better every day. I want to win for our customers every day, and I'm locked in, and I love it. Really, thank you so much for having me on this channel. It is definitely the day in the life of, and it's never the same day in the life of Paul Zweben. It's been a blast. We wake up every single day to win for our customers, and that's how everyone on our team thinks. It's never about our needs, it's always about the customer's needs. Part of my business plan is to be on social media every day. You can find me on YouTube, just Paul Zweben. You can find me on Twitter, which is Hungry Domain. You can find me on TikTok under Paul Zweben, and Instagram under Hungry Domain. That's it. Really appreciate everybody watching this video. A day in the life of Paul Zweben. Again, every day is different. I'm a happy guy. You ever want to have a beer or a cup of coffee and talk about real estate or food or kids or anything else? I'm here for you. Thank you.
You ended at 11 o'clock.
Oh my God, I know, I know.
He's very upset. He
And now
came in
it's
to complain.
almost an hour late.
I'm sorry.
And then I came to Heather.
I'm sorry, Chef.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm sorry, Chef.
An hour.
I know.
We cleared
I'm
hurdles
sorry,
with this.
I'm sorry.
filling out Redney Financial.